So I want to thank the American Acupuncture Council again for inviting me to speak. They've asked me to please make sure we keep these powerful, simple, and effective. So that's my goal today. We're going to talk about minding the gap. This topic has changed my life both on a personal level as well as professionally. And what I'm going to bring to you is both my experience as a CPA, a certified professional accountant, and a doctor of Chinese medicine. I'm a Chinese medicine doctor in Vancouver, British Columbia at Acubounce. So I'm going to bring my knowledge and experience together here to share this concept. It's called minding the gap. And let's bring up the slide for this. This is a game changer, and I want to share how it works on a personal level as well as in clinic. So many times patients can fall out of care because they don't think they're getting well when actually they are. So hold on for a few minutes and let me just set this up for you. First of all, the book that you see here in the slide by The Gap by Dan Sullivan, this is a concept that I've taken and I'm going to share my kind of take on in the metaphor, but I want to give credit to where I've heard this a couple of times, but he really put it into a good perspective here. Some people call it the rut. He calls it the gap. And what he learned is if you can't find gratitude in your life, it's very hard to be successful, very hard to be happy. And so you can be successful on the outside and have low self-esteem on the inside and not be happy. And that was my personal experience. And he goes into using gratitude as a practice to change this. And there's science on how it can rewire the brain. We may touch on that, but I want to bring this to the clinic first, okay? And how this can help you and your patients, if they're benefiting, even if they're not totally aware of it, how you can help them become aware so they stay in care to get the results that they're looking for. So the gap, the idea of this gap is that we have this mental construct, what we call the horizon, right? So this is our metaphor. You have this horizon, and the mental construct is there. It appears that the sky meets the earth, or in this case, the sky meets the water, but there is no horizon. There is no place where the sky and the ocean meet, right? But it seems that way. And this is kind of like our ideal goals, right, in life. So our personal goals in life. And so the way this works and how you fall into the gap, and just so you know, when you're in the gap, how do you know it? You're frustrated, you're feeling depressed, you feel insecure, you've lost your confidence. And so how do you get into it? Well, here's the story. You get on your sailboat and you're setting sail, and you turn around, you untie your boat from the dock, from the land, and you set sail. You're sailing for a few hours into that horizon. It gets late, you go underneath into your sleeper, you sleep through the night, you wake up, so now you've been sailing 12 plus hours, you look out into the horizon, it's the early morning, and you're like, oh my God, I haven't made any progress. Why? Because that horizon looks like the same distance as it was yesterday when you started. And that's the gap of looking at where you are now to where you want to be. And how do you rectify this is turning around and looking behind you to see how far you've come. How far from the land have you come? And so what happens in life is we're always looking at our next goal, and we need these goals. It's important to have these things to chase and have these ideals to go after, to set our goals against. But it's important to look back each day and show gratitude and appreciate where you've been. If you don't look at where you are now and where you've been, then you're going to fall into the gap because you're only looking at where you are and where you want to be. And that's where you're going to find frustration, depression, and you're going to lose your confidence. And this is just not great for you, for your own personal happiness and for your effectiveness in clinic. Here's how this happens in practice and how I want you to take this concept and bring this into your clinic. So a story, basketball player. So this patient has really bad knee, cannot play recreational basketball anymore. Comes in for treatment, do acupuncture, do laser for the knee, and lo and behold, several weeks go by. I'm under the impression that he's improving. Maybe after the 11th or 12th treatment over several weeks, he comes in and says, yeah, I don't think it's working. I think I'm going to stop. This is going to be my last treatment. And I say, well, explain what not working means. And he goes on to say that he played basketball last night and he felt it was quite sore afterwards. So what's happening here is he's in his where he is now, and he's looking to the ideal. What's his ideal? Zero pain, can play basketball, no problem. Where was he? He was in so much pain. He had lacked so much mobility and strength in the knee and pain that he was not even able to play basketball anymore. So I had to review the pain meds he was taking, the different things he's tried, and that he hadn't played for 3 months before we saw him, and how the treatment over the last couple of weeks has taken his pain to a certain level. So let's say we had it at a 10, we marked how many pills he was taking for pain to no pills except for last night, and he's actually playing basketball again. And he had an aha moment. So what was happening with this individual? He had his ideal. He had his horizon set. The horizon was no pain, I can play basketball. And so he played, but it was sore and he found it uncomfortable and he needed pain medicine. So he was not happy and he thought it wasn't working. We had to have him go and look backwards to show how far he came, and that took him out of the gap. And so it's important when you're seeing patients, probably at least on a monthly basis, depends what you're treating. If it's reproductive health, gynecological stuff, chronic stuff, probably at least once a month. The menstruation is great for fertility and gynecological. But if it's pain, then at least once a week, assuming you're seeing them more than once a week. And even if you're seeing them once a week, you want to know not they have pain, but how much pain. Give them ask for a scale so you can track this. How many pain meds? Know the pain meds, how many, how often they're taking per day, because they'll forget. I've had women with dysmenorrhea, painful periods where they say the treatments aren't working, and they were taking 5 to 6 naproxen a day for 4 days, and now they're taking 1 naproxen for 2 days. That's like 8 to 12 naproxen down to 2. That's dramatic. And so they forget, because just like human nature, we get to a place and we get used to it and we forget where it was, and now we just want it to even be better. It's just human nature. So our role is to take really good notes so we can keep letting them know how much progress they've made, where they haven't made their progress yet, and whether we think we can still take them to that next level. Can we get them closer to their ideal? So this is the idea of the gap. Now, on a personal level, how do you do this for your own personal happiness? This is this whole gratitude exercise that I want to share. And so I just want to talk about a study that was done, Sean Anker's book called The Happiness Advantage. And I have this expression, where the mind goes, the chi follows. What you focus on becomes your reality. And so what they did here is they took 2 groups, pessimists and optimists. They all had the same magazine, and they were to count how many images were on the 30 pages of this magazine that they created. It was a creative magazine. And on the first page, there was turn to the very second to last page to finish this exercise. On the second to last page, it was written, show this to the supervisor up front, collect $250. Well, the pessimist missed it and counted 1, 2, 3, flip, 4, 5, 6, flip, and they counted all the way and handed it in. And they were much longer statistically than the optimist. The optimist started looking, found this text that says, like one picture, oh, turn to the second last page, turn to the second last page, and they were able to hand it in sooner. So what's happening? Well, you have a conscious and unconscious or subconscious mind, and your conscious can only take in so much information, but your subconscious sees everything. But when you put your attention, I think it's called the reticular activating system, where you put your attention on, then that's what's going to get filtered in, because there's only so much that can get to your conscious. So that's what your subconscious is going to help filter in. So if you're looking for a red Toyota Corolla to buy, all of a sudden you're going to see more red Corollas on the road. Not that there are more red Corollas on the road. It's just that that's what you start to notice. That's the filter. It's where the mind goes, the chi follows. What you focus on becomes your reality. You got 9 good things in your life and 1 bad, and you focus on the 1 bad, your life sucks. If you have 9 bad things going on in your life and 1 good thing, and you focus on the good thing, your life actually is pretty good. Why? Where the mind goes, the chi follows. What you focus on becomes your reality. Back to the Sean Anker book, Happiness Advantage, where they talk about this research. They took the pessimists and they got them to write down 3 things that they're grateful for. So 3 things that are going well in their life every day for 21 days. And they did scans before and after their brains, and they saw that their brain structure changed. So not only did they notice that they were seeing opportunities differently because they're changing their wiring of their brain, but we saw it that it was actually physically changing. So writing things down that you're grateful for will force you to revisit the last 24 hours of what's going well, and it's going to start to change the wiring, and you're going to start to see opportunities that have always been there, but you never got to see them because of your filter, the lens that you had on your eyes. And so where the mind goes, the chi follows. What you focus on becomes your reality. And so that's why how you mind the gap is you want to practice this gratitude exercise. So I teach my patients this in general, to have practice of gratitude on a daily basis. 3 original things. It's not just the thinking or writing down the 3 things that you're grateful for, but to allow yourself to feel gratitude, because it's the emotion that's going to put the charge behind the thought. The thought alone is not going to be enough. That's why probably positive affirmations don't work well unless the people doing them are also eliciting the emotions. I get a really nice leather book. I tell my patients, spend some good money. These are your thoughts. These are good thoughts. And write 3 original things every day. And there's something you continue to be grateful for. You can put it on your list the next day, but now you need 4 because you want 3 original things, because you're training your brain. It may take a little effort, but it's worth it. And so that's how you mind the gap. I talk a lot more about this and other business principles in my book, Missing the Point, Why Acupuncturists Fail. So you can check that out at missingthepointbook.com. That's the website to order it online. It's free shipping. And then there's other things that I'm involved in. There's the Integrative Fertility Symposium that we offer in Vancouver. Check out ifsymposium.com. And then online learning for acupuncturists and functional medicine practitioners is at healthyseminars.com. They're approved for PDA and CPDs. And we have business courses on there as well as courses on ethics and safety that may be of interest to you. So I want to thank you for listening. I hope this was simple, powerful, and effective, and that you're able to take this into your treatment to remind your patients where they've been at least once a week. Keep really good notes so you can really measure this, and you will keep them out of the gap, and they will stay in care so they can get the results that you said you can get for them. Thank you very much.